Hello everybody, welcome to Little Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video. Trying to hit 50k subscribers over here, so that subscription would be much appreciated. So I want to talk about some free agents who are still remaining, which I know I did that video already, but we are at a point with a bunch of different restricted free agents where I'm just kind of like, is anything gonna happen? Well, we're at a very big standstill, so I'm gonna title this video something like "These Free Agents Are Stuck" or whatever. And, this particular phenomenon, a restricted free agent just kind of being in a bad position because other teams in the league don't have money, is a thing that we have seen before. And it does feel like in the NBA, the quote unquote middle class of the NBA is also becoming increasingly rarer. Either you're going to get a $30+ million contract, or you're probably going to get 12 or less. There's not a lot of guys in between those ranges. And right now, there's a bunch of different guys who are expecting to get $30 to $40 million a year. And there's not a team that's going to offer them that, but also their team is lowballing them from their point of view. So they're just kind of riding the line as long as they can till hopefully somebody will pay them. Now, it's not to say that these guys are without their rumors. The rumors certainly exist, but it's like, how many actual opportunities exist? So first, I'm going to talk about Jonathan Kuminga. I feel like John has been fucked by the Warriors for most of his career. I don't think he quite got it as bad as Moses Moody for a majority of his time there. However, he got a very bad shake with how this roster went. In fact, the way that he kind of fell to the wayside when they traded for Jimmy Butler reminded me a lot of when the same thing happened with Markelle Fultz and, to an even larger extent, Ben Simmons, where it was just kind of like, you don't really fit next to Jimmy Butler anymore, and we know that Jimmy Butler is better, so sucks to suck, you gotta go. And that's the exact position Kuminga is in, because he does not fit the Golden State Warriors roster. The last thing that this team needs is another forward who cannot shoot the ball. They're already dealing with Draymond and Jimmy playing 30+ minutes per game. They don't want to pay a guy $30 million to be another dude who cannot hit his three-pointers. And, his three's gotten better throughout the years. He's even developed somewhat of a mid-range game. But at the end of the day, his play style does not fit what that team needs. Now, that's not to say that he can't be a good player in the right context, but the Warriors are not that context. However, the other context, the other teams possibly available, are also not the best option, because he's at this place, and a lot of players get in this position where they're really good in a very hyper-specific role, but there's not a lot of teams that can offer them that hyper-specific role, or if they could, it will be at a detriment, really. So, the teams that are interested are the Miami Heat, the Chicago Bulls, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are just kind of rumored to sign every single unrestricted free agent, basically. They're in the rumor mill for all of them. The Nets, that would be fine just because it's a rebuilding team, so there'd be plenty of shot opportunity. I do think he primarily thrives as a secondary guy next to a really strong playmaker, but, that's not going to be happening in Brooklyn, really. The Bucks, I don't think that he would fit well next to Giannis at all, so I don't really think that one's going to come to be. The Heat are interesting because the Heat are, of course, amazing at player development, and Jonathan Kuminga has spent most of his career being more of a prospect than an actual tangibly good NBA player, and he's put up big numbers his past year and a half or so. I remember he ended not this previous season, but the one before it, on this really crazy high scoring streak for what he was doing relative to the earlier points in his career. But I think the Heat can make him a better defensive player. And I just don't, the Heat are not I haven't really seen as much development stories as there are for the Miami Heat. There really aren't that many for them developing a jump shot. Bam Adebayo, he's tried to be a three-point shooter, has not happened. Jimmy Butler had his worst shooting seasons ever while he was on the Miami Heat, other than the last year and a half. That's just kind of been the one area that they have not figured out how to just completely elevate a guy. So I don't know that Jonathan Kuminga would actually benefit that much, because the jump shot is his biggest issue. If you're going to be a scorer in the NBA while not being a great playmaker or a great defender, you need to be and not being a big man, you need to be able to shoot at least a little bit. There's really no example of a non-big who is not a good playmaker, not a good defender, and not a good shooter who is also a good player. Those are very seldomly found, and because of that, there's just a lot of skepticism with him, and no one wants to pay him real money. I don't think the Bulls will do it. I don't think the Heat will do it, and the Washington Wizards are also possibly interested. They could maybe do it because there's a certain level of like, yeah, we just want to get the young talent here, and we'll hope for the best, and a bad contract doesn't hurt us the way it does a contender. But I don't know. And there's also been a lot of weird stuff back and forth with the Warriors where like they're making it clear they don't want to pay him, but they're also like adamant about getting something out of him, potentially in a sign and trade situation. I don't know. I definitely feel bad for the position that he is currently in. Next, we got to talk about Quentin Grimes. And there really has not been a lot of rumors about Grimes other than that apparently the Spurs might be a suitor. And when that rumor came out, it was a couple days ago. And then Quentin Grimes tweeted yesterday, "Sometimes you just gotta throw on some cowboy boots." And there is also a cowboy emoji in his profile. So definitely implies going to a Texas team, and he also has his location set to Houston. I don't know if he's from there or something, but either way, some signals being communicated here. And yeah, he has this bad position. And Josh Giddey's in a similar place. We're going to talk about him, where he is he had his breakout at a point in the year that people are incredibly skeptical of. You know, the point in the year where like the Jalen Greens of the world start to shine, and it's like, is that actually real, actually being a good player, or is this just a good context for you to put up these numbers? I would argue that Quentin did what he did on such good efficiency that it proves that he legitimately can be a 20-point per game scorer. And mind you, I'm saying that with 20-point per game scorer not being a super impressive threshold in the NBA anymore. There's like 40 different dudes in the league who are capable of being in that tier. And I think Quentin Grimes could be that, probably not within the context of the Sixers team. And the Sixers, of course, just drafted VJ Edgecombe, which probably communicates to some degree or another that they don't believe Quentin Grimes is some foundational piece by any means. I don't know. It also appears that the Sixers are in the same place where the Warriors are, where we don't really feel like giving him this money. We're going to wait and see what someone does and then see if we want to match that, because they do want to bring Grimes back, but only to a certain dollar amount. And if a certain team offers too much for them to be willing to match it, then he can leave. I don't know how much availability the San Antonio Spurs have in their salary cap, so I don't know how much they're actually going to offer him. It might be enough or low enough that the Sixers end up matching it. But yeah, Quentin Grimes, I feel very bad for him as well, because I do think that he is deserving of a payday. He just waited a little too long to have this breakout. I mean, I guess he didn't really wait for it. He had to be traded, but either way, it happened at an inconvenient time. Enough that he'll get paid more than he would have, but I imagine he doesn't want to sign some super long-term contract to like stifle him in his level of production and such. So yeah, I don't know. Then we got Cam Thomas, who is, his team definitely can afford to bring him back. There's no area of concern there, but they have not made the effort to do so. And there are plenty of teams rumored as of right now. The Detroit Pistons seem to be the favorite for some reason. Again, it's like, I don't know how much money these teams have. I never really feel like I know how much money teams have anymore. But the Bulls are once again rumored. The Hornets are also in the mix. Grizzlies, Magic, Jazz, and Wizards. Yeah, Cam Thomas, similar thing with Jonathan Kuminga. That's like, you are really only good in this specific context, and is it a context that we want for you? Is it a context that we want our team to be foundationally built around? Not really. I saw a stat that was like Cam Thomas was like top 15 or so in usage, but like 50th in points per game. Yeah, I just think Cam, again, he's in the same position. All these guys are in the same position, so I really should just stop making the same fucking point. But the Chicago Bulls and Josh Giddey have also had this contract disagreement. Apparently, Giddey is looking for something north of $30 million per season. However, the Bulls have not offered anything higher than a 4-year, $20 million a year deal. Most that has been rumored is 4-year 100, but 4-year 80 seems to be what the reports are suggesting. And yeah, I would be thrilled if that is indeed the amount of money that he got. My big thing with Josh Giddey, and I'll talk about this briefly, no, it is not to do with the off-the-court stuff, as much as people like to act like that's the only source of my commentary, despite the fact that it's literally fucking not at all. My big issue with Grimes wasn't so much, or with Giddey, was not so much him himself, but the representation that he has for the Bulls franchise in general. The willingness to decide that mediocrity should be our foundation. And I was worried the Bulls were going to give him a shitload of money and treat him like he is like the staple of their future in the same exact way they did to Zach LaVine, just like this incredibly flawed lead guard, just in opposite ways. And doesn't seem they're doing that. So it doesn't seem to be they're doing that. So like I can give them that credit at the very least. They are not blindly paying people shit that they are not worth. And I think they learned this lesson from Patrick Williams, because they gave Patrick Williams a hefty contract before they really had any reason to at all, and now he's one of the worst contracts on the team and could end up being one of the worst in the NBA. I think this last year is kind of a make or break one for Patrick Williams, because he was not good last year. But yeah, I would be perfectly fine with Josh Giddey on the Bulls if it means that he is making 20 a year. 20 a year for him, I can get behind that. 30, 35, 40, Christ almighty, kill me before you do that. That will probably be the end of my Bulls fandom if something like that happened, but doesn't look like it's going to. And yeah, these guys are stuck. Hopefully they will get signed soon. But yeah, that is it. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.